Something is wrong with Mars, and it's not the planet. It's what's orbiting it. 2 moons, misshapen, silent, watching. No one remembers placing them there. No natural process explains their path, and yet, they remain. Phobos and Deimos, not just moons. Perhaps, not moons at all. They teach it in classrooms. Phobos and Deimos, Mars moons, mere captured asteroids from the belt. Cold, dead, meaningless. Or so we were told. They spin in strange orbits, unlike our moon, almost artificial, too close, too fast. Phobos races around Mars in just over 7 hours. So quick, it rises and sets twice in one Martian day. Deimos, the smaller, drifts like a distant thought, far slower, almost indifferent. Their shapes defy symmetry. Their surfaces are pocked with ancient scars, as if they've seen battles, or witnessed something they should not have. Phobos bears a crater, Stickney, so vast it nearly shattered the moon. But it didn't. It held together, as if something wanted it to. No one can explain the strange grooves carved across its surface. Not meteor impacts, not gravity, just patterns, as if something beneath the surface had tried to escape or speak. And what of their mass? Their density? Far too low. Hollow, perhaps. Empty, or filled with something else entirely. There were signals, flickers in the radio noise, blips too regular to be static. They called it interference, echo, error. But what if it was none of those? Science writes them off as coincidence. But the cosmos has no coincidences, only intentions. The more we measured, the less we understood. The more we studied, the more they watched. We thought we were observing Mars moons, but perhaps they were observing us. At first, the anomalies were small, almost dismissible. A rhythmic pulse in the electromagnetic field surrounding Phobos, too faint to register as a signal, too consistent to be noise. A single point of heat, fluctuating like a heartbeat beneath the crust of Deimos. An echo, trapped in stone. They called it coincidence. But when the patterns returned, exact, repeated, mathematical, a few began to question. What intelligence could hide in orbital decay? What purpose could lie in the grooves of a dead moon? The grooves on Phobos, those bizarre linear marks etched deep into its skin, they follow no known impact logic, no natural erosion. They curve, they spiral, they converge, not randomly, but with intention. One researcher traced them over and over, believing they formed a map. Another claimed they resonated at a frequency just beyond human hearing, and that they heard something. Then came the dreams. Mission logs from early Mars probes reference auditory hallucinations, whispers that weren't radio interference. Flight engineers started reporting visions, fleeting, impossible images, like memories that weren't theirs. And all of it centered around one phrase in their logs: they are not asleep. It was dismissed as stress, isolation, but those who stayed near Phobos long enough didn't remain the same. Eyes sunken, speech fragmented. Some refused to speak at all, as if something had unwritten part of their minds. They stared at Phobos long after it passed overhead, as if it had left a mark not on their eyes, but in their thoughts. Something beneath that surface isn't dead, it isn't inert, it's aware, and it is watching back. Before science, there were myths, and long before Mars was a target for rovers and telescopes, it was a god, a bringer of war, blood, and ruin. And in every ancient culture that named him, he was never alone. In Greek legend, Mars was Ares, followed by his sons, Phobos, meaning fear, and Deimos, terror. They rode with him into battle, silent shadows trailing behind the storm. Centuries later, when astronomers discovered 2 small moons orbiting the red planet, they named them accordingly. A coincidence, they said, but how strange that the names fit too well. In Babylonian texts, Mars was associated with gods of burning sky, beings said to ride on stone chariots above the heavens. One cylinder seal shows twin objects orbiting a sphere, centuries before telescopes existed. In Egyptian lore, Mars was linked with Set, the god of chaos, whose symbol was flanked by two watching eyes. Phobos and Deimos, always two, always watching. But the oldest reference comes not from Earth, but from Mars itself. Some satellite images, redacted, reclassified, captured formations on the Martian surface. Patterns too precise to be geological, shapes resembling glyphs. A researcher claimed they matched inscriptions found on Phobos's grooves. No one believed him, until he vanished. Those who looked deeper found other symbols, buried in caves, carved in stone tablets, all pointing toward one thing. They did not come from Mars. Phobos and Deimos may be relics, not just of ancient time, but of ancient presence, and presence once buried does not forget. It waits, it calls, and we may have already answered. We thought we were alone. Even as we dug into Mars' dust and scanned its sky, we believed the void held nothing but silence. But silence can be deceiving. The last mission to observe Phobos up close, unofficial, unmanned, unannounced, transmitted for just 47 seconds before all data ceased. What little recovered showed something wrong. Visuals were warped, time codes overlapped. There were frames, single, frozen, of impossible geometry, angles that bent inward, shadows without source, a glimpse of architecture not meant for human eyes. Then came the tone, a low frequency, deep and vibrating, like a growl from the bones of the planet itself. It didn't transmit through instruments. It transmitted through the minds of those who listened. Several scientists later reported hearing whispers in their sleep. Not voices, intentions. Thoughts that weren't theirs. Ideas they couldn't forget. One researcher, before resigning in silence, wrote a single sentence in her notebook. "It knows we found it." The phrase repeated in her dreams for weeks, until she stopped dreaming altogether. Another began writing symbols, long, winding glyphs, on the walls of his lab. He claimed it was instructions. Instructions for what? He wouldn't say. He just smiled, eyes unfocused, and said, "It's waking up." No more probes have been sent. No more questions asked. Because perhaps we don't want the answer. Phobos was once thought to be a rock, then a relic. Now we wonder if it's a prison, and what lies inside has begun to remember its name. They say space is a vacuum, empty, silent, eternal. But some vacuums echo, and some doors, once opened, were never meant to be closed. We sent signals to Mars, we dug into its surface, we placed machines around its orbit, and perhaps we knocked too hard. Phobos and Deimos have not changed. They still drift, still orbit, still keep their silent watch. But something has changed in us. Some researchers won't speak of what they've seen. Others no longer work, not because they left, but because they were taken, by obsession, by fear, by something they could not unsee. We built telescopes to gaze at the stars, but maybe the stars gazed back, and maybe something between them blinked. There are rumors, classified transmissions, redacted logs, of a signal still coming from Phobos, a rhythm, a code, a voice. It doesn't speak in language, it speaks in memory, and it's whispering to more of us every year. Not a scream, not a roar, just a name, ancient, alien, waiting to be remembered. The question is no longer what Phobos is. The question is what we've already become by listening. And the door? The one we thought was sealed behind ancient rock? It was never sealed. It was never even closed.